Welcome to English Beast. Today, we are going to listen to an extraordinary story, a story of courage, imagination, and the relentless pursuit of the impossible. This is the story of a boy who could never have imagined that one day he would own companies like Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and many other ventures that would change the world forever. This boy, whose imagination knew no bounds, was none other than Elon Musk. Even as a child, Elon's mind refused to settle for ordinary answers or follow paths that everyone else considered normal. While other kids dreamed of simple adventures, he imagined worlds and possibilities most adults would call impossible. He spent hours immersed in books that most children would find tedious, absorbing the knowledge of science, technology, and imagination. His bedroom often became a laboratory of ideas, filled with sketches, small machines, and experiments he built and tested tirelessly. Growing up in South Africa was not easy. He faced bullying at school, isolation, and the challenge of living in a world that often seemed too small for his ambitions. Yet, instead of breaking him, these experiences forged resilience, sharpening his focus and teaching him early that to achieve something extraordinary, he would need courage, perseverance, and an unyielding belief in himself. By the time he was a teenager, Elon had already demonstrated brilliance beyond his years. He taught himself programming and created his first software at just 12, a game called Blaster, which he sold for $500. That early success wasn't just about money, it was a spark, a glimpse of what happens when curiosity meets action, when imagination dares to challenge reality. Let me ask you something, have you ever felt a dream so big that it seemed impossible, yet you couldn't stop thinking about it? That was Elon every single day. Every question he asked, every experiment he tried, and every failure he endured became a stepping stone toward the extraordinary life he was destined to lead. As a young man, he left home and moved across continents in search of opportunity. Canada first, then the United States, lands brimming with potential, but also filled with uncertainty. He had very little money, no safety net, and no guarantees, yet he carried a vision larger than fear itself. Small apartments became laboratories. Late nights became classrooms. Sleep became a luxury he could not afford. Every sacrifice, every hardship, every sleepless night fueled the fire of his dreams. At 24, Elon co-founded Zip2, a company designed to help businesses move online. The early days were grueling, long hours, skeptical investors, constant obstacles, and immense pressure to build something from nothing. But Elon's vision could not be ignored. Zip2 eventually became a massive success, selling for $307 million. Elon walked away with $22 million, a fortune he immediately reinvested in his next audacious dream, X.com, which later evolved into PayPal. Elon's journey through Zip2 and X.com teaches us the essence of perseverance, that failure is not the end, but a teacher, that risk is not something to fear, but a necessary step to growth, and that vision without action remains only a dream. His early ventures were not just business successes, they were proof that one person, driven by curiosity, courage, and relentless determination, could begin to shape the future. Motivation is everywhere in Elon's story. It is in the sleepless nights spent coding, in the bold decisions made against all odds, and in the courage to dream bigger than anyone else believes possible. His life reminds us that every setback is an opportunity to learn, every challenge a chance to grow, and every spark of imagination a seed for greatness. Repeat after me, I am capable of creating the impossible. My dreams are bigger than my fears. The boy who never imagined Tesla or SpaceX had already begun to write the first lines of a life that would inspire millions. Every book read, every experiment tried, every sleepless night was a step toward a future that no one else could yet see. And here on English Beast, remember, every story you hear carries lessons for your own journey, lessons about courage, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of your dreams. Elon Musk's story is a call to action for anyone willing to dream, work, and persist. From the sparks of curiosity in a small South African bedroom to the blazing fire of world-changing innovation, his life shows us that nothing is impossible when imagination meets relentless effort. Success is rarely a peaceful journey. Often, the moment you rise, the storms rise with you. And for Elon Musk, the PayPal era was not just a chapter of victory, it was a chapter of war. A war of ideas, of leadership, of vision, and of survival. A war that would test not only his intelligence, but his endurance, his resilience, and his capacity to keep standing even when everything around him seemed determined to knock him down. After the merger that formed the company we now call PayPal, Elon found himself in a position where brilliance collided with brilliance. The team was packed with some of the most talented minds Silicon Valley had ever seen, people who would later go on to build YouTube, LinkedIn, Yelp, Palantir, SpaceX, Tesla, and more. But at the time, they were simply ambitious young innovators fighting over the future of money. The merged company was chaotic. Ideas clashed like thunderstorms. Strategies were debated with the kind of intensity usually found in war rooms. Elon's dream was clear: to make X.com the world's leading financial platform, to unify global payments into one seamless system that people could trust. He didn't want to just build a product, he wanted to build infrastructure for humanity itself. But not everyone agreed with his method. Some wanted speed. Some wanted safety. Some wanted innovation, others wanted stability. And when a company has too many captains, the ship shakes. Elon worked like a man possessed. He slept in the office again, just like the early Zip 2 days. He skipped meals, skipped rest, skipped anything that wasn't essential. His mind was always running, thinking about security systems, user experience, server speed, financial regulations, customer trust, global scalability. He believed that financial innovation required relentless attention. If something went wrong with the platform, people could lose their money, their savings, their confidence. PayPal grew fast. Very fast. Faster than anyone had predicted. The number of users exploded. The platform was receiving thousands of new accounts every day. Investors were excited. Customers were excited. The internet was excited. The world had never seen a digital payment system grow this rapidly, but with growth came enemies. Hackers targeted them. Banks fought them. Regulators questioned them. Competitors copied them. Every day felt like fighting a new dragon. Every day came with the same question: will we survive this? And every day, Elon and his team refused to surrender. Here's something important. Success isn't just about going forward, it's about not getting destroyed while you're moving forward. Inside the company, however, tensions were rising. The board began disagreeing with Elon's decisions. They thought he was too bold, too aggressive, too unconventional. They feared that his ambitious ideas could put the company at risk. Elon, on the other hand, felt their caution was slowing down innovation. Two visions. One company. Zero compromise. Then came the breaking point. Elon had taken a rare vacation, his first in a long, long time. While he was in the air, thousands of feet above the ground, disconnected from the world, the board made their move. They voted to remove him as CEO. He had no way to defend himself. No way to respond. No way to even know what was happening until he landed. Imagine this, you build a company with every atom of your soul. You work late nights. You sacrifice everything. You push through sleepless months, burnout, breakdowns. You pour your identity into your mission. And then one day, without warning, you are told you are no longer allowed to run the company you built. Heartbreak is not a strong enough word. Betrayal is not a big enough word. But Elon didn't collapse. He didn't sink. He didn't walk away. Instead, he stayed. He held on to his shares. He supported the company. He believed in its future even after it stopped believing in his leadership. Let me ask you something, would you have stayed? Most people would have walked out, burned bridges, or given up in anger. But Elon stayed because he wasn't in it for pride. He was in it for purpose. And when purpose is bigger than ego, even the sharpest betrayal cannot stop you. PayPal soon became a giant. Investors flooded in. Users kept multiplying. The system became stronger, faster, more secure. And eventually, in 2002, eBay acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion. The world finally understood what Elon had seen years before. Elon received around $180 million from the sale. A number so large it could have ended the story there. He could have retired. Disappeared into luxury. Lived a peaceful life. But deep inside him was a fire that money could not extinguish. Because PayPal wasn't the end. It was only the preparation. A rehearsal for something bigger. Repeat after me, every ending is a beginning in disguise. Because for Elon, this ending opened the gate to the next impossible chapters: Tesla, SpaceX, Solar City, Starlink, Neuralink, and more. PayPal had shaped him, broken him, taught him, and hardened him. It showed him that leadership requires sacrifice. Innovation requires conflict. Success requires resilience. And vision requires loneliness. This chapter of Elon's life reminds us of something deeply important. Sometimes the world will push you out of the very thing you built. Sometimes people will not see what you see. Sometimes they will fear your ambition because it exposes their limits. But none of that can stop you if your purpose remains stronger than your pain. PayPal was a battlefield. Elon walked through it wounded. But he walked through it victorious. And without that fire, that conflict, that hardship, he would never have become the man who would later attempt to colonize Mars. Before we move on, let me leave you with this single thought. Your journey will test you long before it rewards you. But those tests are shaping you for a destiny bigger than anything you can see right now. Some revolutions don't begin with explosions, they begin with quiet disbelief. When Elon Musk first spoke publicly about electric cars, the world didn't take him seriously. Automakers scoffed. Engineers doubted. Investors shrugged. Reporters smiled politely and moved on. After all, The idea of building an all-electric, mass-produced, luxurious, powerful car seemed ridiculous, almost childish. Electric cars were considered toys. Slow, weak, ugly, and irrelevant. But if history teaches us anything, it is this. Great ideas are always mocked before they are celebrated. Elon saw something no one else saw. He saw a world where transportation didn't poison the air. A world where power wasn't controlled by oil giants. A world where energy was clean, sustainable, and infinite. A world where a child born tomorrow didn't have to fear the planet collapsing around them. Tesla wasn't just a company. It wasn't even just a mission. It was a promise to the future. But the journey to fulfill that promise nearly destroyed him. When Elon first joined Tesla as its primary investor, and later became CEO, everything seemed simple on paper. Build electric cars. Make them efficient. Make them fast. Make them beautiful. But nothing about Tesla turned out to be simple. The Roadster, Tesla's first car, was supposed to be a symbol of hope. Instead, it became a symbol of chaos. Production was delayed. Costs skyrocketed. The technology refused to cooperate. Suppliers pulled out. Engineers complained. Executives quit. Investors panicked. The media laughed. And Elon Musk kept going that he spent days at the office, nights sleeping on a beanbag in the corner, waking up to wipe whiteboard diagrams clean and draw new ones. He personally inspected parts. He personally spoke to engineers. He personally tested prototypes. He personally convinced investors not to abandon the company. Let me ask you something. Have you ever believed in something so deeply that you were willing to lose everything for it? Because that's exactly where Elon was standing. By 2008, Tesla was on the edge of death. Bills piled up like mountains. Suppliers wanted their money. Employees were scared of layoffs. The company bank accounts were nearly empty. And the world was facing a financial crisis unlike anything seen in decades. Tesla wasn't sinking, it was drowning. Elon had a choice. Let Tesla die and walk away with whatever money he had left. Or risk everything, to keep it alive. He chose the second option. He poured every remaining dollar from the PayPal sale into Tesla and SpaceX. Everything he had built for a decade was now at risk. He had no safety net. No backup plan. No emergency escape. There was a moment, one painful, unforgettable moment, when Elon realized he had only enough money left to save one company, not both. And he chose to save both. He split the remaining funds between SpaceX and Tesla, knowing full well that this made it nearly impossible for either company to survive. But he didn't care about statistics. He cared about purpose. He cared about the future. There came a night when Elon cried until he could not cry anymore. Sitting alone, overwhelmed, exhausted, heartbroken. The pressure, the debt, the criticism, the attacks, the failures, it was crushing him from every direction. He later said that 2008 was the worst year of his entire life. But here is the truth hidden inside that suffering. Your darkest moments often hide the most extraordinary breakthroughs. On Christmas Eve 2008, SpaceX received a NASA contract that kept the company alive. And shortly after, Tesla received emergency funding that saved them from bankruptcy at the last possible second. Elon later described it as pulling victory from the jaws of defeat. But it wasn't victory. Not yet. It was simply a chance, a small chance, to keep fighting. Tesla began rebuilding. Engineers redesigned systems. Elon restructured the entire company. They learned from every mistake. They rebuilt the Roadster. They prepared the groundwork for something bigger, something the world still thought was impossible. Then came the Model S. The Model S was not just a car. It was a declaration. A statement. A challenge thrown directly at the heart of every major automaker. The moment the Model S hit the roads, the world changed. Reviewers were stunned. Drivers were speechless. Critics were silenced. The car was fast, blindingly fast. Silent, elegant, powerful. It became the safest car ever tested. It shattered speed records. It shattered expectations. It shattered disbelief. For the first time, the world looked at Elon Musk, and realized he wasn't crazy. He wasn't dreaming. He was building the future in real time. And here is something powerful. People will doubt you until the moment you make them wish they had believed in you earlier. The Model S opened doors for the Model X, the Model 3, the Model Y. The gigafactories. The global charging networks. The world began shifting toward electric vehicles, not because they were forced to, but because Tesla made them desirable. The same journalists who said Tesla would fail now wrote headlines calling Elon a visionary. The same investors who denied him now begged to join. The same automakers who mocked Tesla now scrambled to copy them. Let me leave you with something simple but life-changing. Repeat after me: the world may laugh at my dreams today, but one day, it will applaud my courage. Tesla stood because Elon refused to fall. Tesla lived because Elon refused to let the dream die. Tesla succeeded because one man was willing to be broken, ridiculed, defeated, doubted, and exhausted, all for the chance to rewrite the future of energy and transportation. People see the success today. But they forget the suffering. They see the cars. But they forget the nights he slept on factory floors. They see the billions he made. But they forget the millions he risked. They see the glory. But they forget the wounds. That is why Tesla is not just a company. It is a testament to the idea that impossible things become real when someone refuses to quit. There are dreams that fit in your pocket, and then there are dreams so enormous that the world calls them madness. For Elon Musk, space was never a hobby, never a fantasy, never a childhood phase he outgrew. It was a calling, loud, burning, echoing through every corner of his mind since he was a boy staring up at the night sky in South Africa, wondering why humanity had not yet reached for the stars. Space, to Elon, was not a distant idea. It was destiny. But destiny always demands a price. SpaceX began in a small warehouse in El Segundo, California. There were no fancy lobbies, no glossy walls, no corporate luxury. Just a group of young, brilliant engineers who believed, perhaps foolishly, perhaps bravely, that they could do what the world's largest aerospace companies had never managed: build affordable rockets that could reach orbit, and someday return safely back to Earth. From day one, SpaceX was laughed at. Critics called Elon a rich kid playing astronaut. Aerospace veterans dismissed him with cold certainty. They said rockets were too complex, too expensive, too dangerous, too unpredictable. They said government agencies and billion-dollar companies had failed for decades, and Elon Musk, this outsider, stood no chance. But Elon wasn't listening to the noise. He was listening to the future. He spent hours studying rocket engineering, sleeping only a few hours a night, absorbing physics, propulsion, combustion, aerodynamics. He questioned everything the industry believed. Why were rockets not reusable? Why were they built like disposable fireworks? Why did humanity keep accepting impossibility without fighting it? Let me ask you something. Have you ever stared at a dream so big that even your closest people whispered, "You can't do it"? Elon lived that whisper every day. The early years of SpaceX were chaos wrapped inside courage. Engineers worked late into the night, sleeping on office floors, eating cheap ramen, designing parts by hand, welding components in-house, reinventing entire systems from scratch. They were underfunded, underestimated, and overwhelmed. The first rocket they built was the Falcon 1, a slender, elegant missile of hope. Elon believed in it with every fiber of his soul. He poured money into it. Time. Energy. His entire future. But rockets, like dreams, don't succeed on belief alone. The first launch failed. A fuel leak. A broken part. A simple error that destroyed years of work in minutes. The rocket exploded over the Pacific Ocean. Millions of dollars gone in a flash of fire. The world laughed. Critics smirked. Investors panicked. Newspapers wrote headlines calling Elon delusional. But Elon stood in front of his team and said words that would define the soul of SpaceX. "We will try again." They rebuilt Falcon 1. Thousands of details rechecked, redesigned, recalibrated. Countless sleepless nights. Endless testing. The second launch came. And it failed again. The rocket lifted off, but did not reach orbit. Another explosion. Another disaster. Another storm of criticism. At this point, most companies would have collapsed. Most founders would have surrendered. Most hearts would have broken. Elon, however, refused to kneel. He gathered his exhausted team, faces stained with disappointment, clothes covered in grease and sweat, and he told them something almost unbelievable. "We still have enough money for one more attempt. Only one. One chance. One final shot between survival and extinction. If the third launch failed, SpaceX would die. Tesla would die. Elon's entire life's work would crumble. Imagine standing at the edge of everything you built, knowing a single mistake will erase your entire future." That's where Elon stood. And then, the third launch came. Falcon 1 soared beautifully into the sky, powerful, bright, magnificent. The world held its breath. Seconds turned into minutes. Minutes into eternity. And then, at last, Falcon 1 reached orbit. For the first time in history, a privately built liquid-fueled rocket had done what only nations had accomplished. SpaceX had succeeded. Elon had succeeded. Humanity had succeeded. But destiny wasn't done testing him. Because even after this historic victory, SpaceX still had almost no money left. The company was on the edge of shutting down. Employees were working without knowing if they'd be paid. Elon was emotionally shattered, sleep-deprived, financially bleeding, mentally drained. But then came the miracle. NASA awarded SpaceX a massive contract worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Not out of pity, but because they recognized the brilliance, the resilience, the potential. This contract saved SpaceX. It saved Tesla. It saved Elon Musk. It saved the dream of making humanity a multi-planet species. From that moment on, SpaceX rose like a dragon awakening. The Falcon 9. The Falcon Heavy. The Dragon capsule. Reusable boosters landing elegantly on drone ships, an idea the world mocked until it became undeniable reality. People now watch boosters return to Earth and land softly on their legs, like something ripped straight from science fiction. But behind that elegance are the scars of every failure. Every exploded rocket. Every sleepless night. Every tear shed in secret. Every moment Elon wondered if he would lose it all. Greatness, you see, is not built on comfort. It is built on crises. Today, SpaceX launches more rockets than any nation on Earth. It carries astronauts to the International Space Station. It delivers satellites. It builds the Starship, the largest rocket humanity has ever attempted. It prepares for Mars. But none of this would exist if Elon gave up after failure number 1. Or failure number 2. Or failure number 3. Repeat after me. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the staircase to success. SpaceX is not just a company. It is a monument to perseverance. A proof that the impossible can be forced into reality by someone who refuses to stop trying. And if one lesson must define this chapter, it is this. The sky is not the limit. The sky is the beginning. Every chapter in Elon Musk's life begins with a problem that seems too big for any single human being to solve. Climate change. Space travel. Global energy. Transportation. But there was one more problem hiding in plain sight, a problem no one talked about because it didn't affect the rich, the powerful, or the comfortable. It affected the forgotten. The disconnected. The children who had never touched the internet. The villages that had never seen a signal bar. The families who lived just beyond the reach of the digital world. Elon Musk saw a world drowning in inequality, but not the kind that headlines scream about. This inequality was quieter, more invisible, yet more dangerous, the inequality of information. Billions of people lived without access to something as basic as the internet. No education. No opportunities. No pathways to jobs. No global voice. No digital identity. For Elon, this wasn't acceptable. He understood something most leaders ignored: the future belongs to the connected. If you cannot access the internet, you are not just disconnected from information, you are disconnected from progress itself, and so began the next impossible dream, a global network of satellites that would deliver high-speed internet to every corner of the Earth. Not to cities. Not to millionaires. But to everyone, every home, every village, every remote farm, every fisherman in the middle of the ocean, every student climbing mountains just to find connection. This dream became Starlink. But Starlink didn't begin as a technological marvel, it began as a question. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you cared about a problem that didn't affect you personally? That is what makes Starlink different. It was built out of empathy. The early days were filled with skepticism. Experts dismissed the idea. Competitors scoffed. Governments doubted. Launching thousands of satellites into orbit. Keeping them stable. Preventing collisions. Maintaining speed and coverage. They said it was impossible. Too ambitious. Too expensive. Too risky. But those words are simply gasoline to Elon's fire. SpaceX engineers began designing hundreds, then thousands of compact satellites, lightweight, powerful, intelligent. Elon didn't want a handful of satellites. He wanted a constellation, a swarm, an entire sky full of connectivity. A web of light wrapped around the Earth, invisible yet life-changing. Satellites were manufactured at unprecedented speed. Launch schedules became relentless. Rocket after rocket soared into the sky, carrying dozens of Starlink units, deploying them like seeds of connection across the heavens. Slowly, the constellation grew. Hundreds turned into 1,000. 1,000 turned into several thousand. And then something extraordinary happened. People in remote regions, mountain villages, disaster-hit areas, war zones, deserts, islands, frozen terrains, began receiving internet for the first time in their lives. Children could access online classes. Farmers could check weather patterns. Fishermen could navigate safely. Doctors in remote clinics could access global medical resources. Entire communities woke up to a new kind of future. Starlink wasn't just connecting devices. It was connecting lives. Connecting dreams. Connecting humanity. And then came the moment that proved the true purpose of Starlink. In times of war, when communication lines were destroyed, when darkness fell over entire nations, when people were cut off from the outside world, Elon activated Starlink. Suddenly, the disconnected were reconnected. People could talk to their families, coordinate rescue missions, run hospitals, and stay alive because the internet had been restored, not by governments, not by armies, but by a constellation of satellites built by a team that refused to accept the world's limits. Starlink showed the world something powerful. Technology is not truly great unless it serves the powerless. Of course, the journey was not easy. Critics accused Elon of creating light pollution. Others claimed the system could fail. But Elon responded the way he always does, not with arguments, not with excuses, but with results. Launch after launch. Upgrade after upgrade. Improvement after improvement, the satellites evolved. Coverage expanded. Speeds increased. Costs decreased. People finally understood that Starlink wasn't just another tech project, it was infrastructure for the 21st century. A global nervous system. A digital lifeline. Elon once said that Starlink might succeed financially or it might fail. But regardless, it would push the world forward. That is the core of every Musk-led mission, purpose before profit. Repeat after me. When you build for humanity, humanity will eventually stand with you. Starlink's power isn't in the satellites. It's in the possibility it creates. A world where a child in a remote village has the same access to knowledge as a child in a wealthy city. A world where innovation is no longer limited by geography. A world where opportunity finally becomes equal. Starlink reminds us that greatness is not measured by how many people admire you, but by how many people you uplift, and this chapter in Elon's life proves something profound. The future becomes beautiful the moment someone decides it should be. By the time Elon Musk embarked on Neuralink, he had already transformed the way we drive, the way we travel through space, and the way the world connects. But even all that was not enough. He looked at humanity and saw its greatest limitation, the human mind itself. Our brains, brilliant as they are, evolved over tens of thousands of years for survival, not for a future defined by artificial intelligence, virtual realities, and exponentially accelerating technology. Our minds are fragile. Our memories fade. Our cognition is limited. And the pace of technological change was racing ahead of our ability to keep up. For Elon, this was unacceptable. He believed that if humanity is to survive, and thrive, it must transcend its own biological constraints. Neuralink was born from that belief, a company dedicated to creating ultra-high bandwidth brain-computer interfaces that could allow humans to communicate with machines, enhance memory, restore lost senses, and even treat neurological disorders. It was not science fiction. It was science daring to catch up with imagination. The work began quietly, almost invisibly. Engineers, neuroscientists, and roboticists converged in secret labs, developing surgical robots capable of inserting microscopic threads into the human brain with precision finer than a human hair. Every test, every prototype, was meticulously analyzed. Failure was not an option, because mistakes could be catastrophic. Elon poured himself into the project with the same obsession he had given Tesla and SpaceX, understanding that the stakes were not just financial or technological, but profoundly human. Neuralink was not about profit. It was about survival. About potential. About giving humans a fighting chance in a future where artificial intelligence would inevitably become more powerful than any single person. It was about bridging the gap between the human mind and the machines we are creating, machines that might otherwise leave us behind. Let me ask you something. Have you ever dreamed of a future so unimaginable that even your friends would call you crazy? This was Elon's reality every day at Neuralink. Early experiments were grueling. In labs filled with whirring robots, blinking monitors, and the quiet hum of data processing, tiny electrodes were tested in animals to study neural pathways. Every success was tentative. Every failure was a reminder of the delicacy and responsibility of the human mind. Elon's philosophy was clear: if you're going to attempt the impossible, you must approach it with both courage and care. The team pushed forward. Months turned into years. Simulations became prototypes. Prototypes became live trials. And then, for the first time, Neuralink demonstrated a chip capable of recording and stimulating neurons with unprecedented accuracy. Paralyzed patients could imagine movements and see a cursor on a screen respond instantly. Researchers realized they were not just building a device, they were opening a door to human potential that had been closed for millennia. But as with all of Elon's ventures, the path was not without criticism. Bioethicists questioned the morality. Scientists doubted the feasibility. Investors worried about timelines and returns. And the public oscillated between skepticism and fear, imagining dystopian consequences. Yet Elon pressed on, not because he sought fame or validation, but because he saw a possibility that transcended personal ambition, a future where humanity could enhance itself responsibly, ethically, and safely. Neuralink also represents one of Elon's most profound personal lessons, that true innovation demands patience. Unlike rockets or cars, the human brain is complex beyond comprehension. Neural pathways are intricate, delicate, and interconnected in ways that still mystify even the greatest neuroscientists. Every breakthrough came only after months of repetition, refinement, and quiet reflection. Elon had to accept that progress would not be fast, that results would not come instantly, and that failure was not shameful, it was an essential part of the journey. And yet, despite all the obstacles, despite the critics, despite the immense pressure, Neuralink continues to advance. Each successful trial, each tiny improvement, is a step toward a future where humans are not limited by the fragility of biology but empowered by the synergy of technology and intellect. Repeat after me. I am capable of evolving beyond my limits. Neuralink is not simply a company. It is a statement: humanity will not be left behind. It is a promise that our species can rise, adapt, and thrive in a world of accelerating change. It embodies the essence of Elon Musk's vision, that every challenge, no matter how vast, is an opportunity to expand what is possible. As we watch Neuralink progress, it becomes clear that this chapter is more than a story about technology. It is a story about courage, imagination, and the unyielding belief that the human mind, our most precious asset, can be stretched, enhanced, and awakened in ways we have only begun to imagine. For anyone listening to this story on English Beast, remember, true progress begins when you refuse to accept limitations, when you dare to dream bigger than the world allows, and when you work tirelessly to make those dreams real. If Elon Musk's story so far is a testament to relentless determination, his future is a testament to audacity that borders on the unimaginable. He has already reshaped multiple industries: automobiles, space, energy, finance, and even neuroscience, but for Elon, the horizon is never a limit. The horizon is an invitation. It beckons him, dares him, challenges him to reach further than anyone has dared before. The future he envisions is vast. It begins with Mars. Elon has often said that humanity must become a multiplanetary species, not for glory, not for conquest, but for survival. Earth, brilliant as it is fragile. A single global catastrophe, a natural disaster, a climate crisis, or even a man-made event, could end life as we know it. To Musk, survival isn't just a biological necessity, it is a moral obligation to ensure that human potential does not vanish with a single planetary event. SpaceX is the vessel of this vision. The Starship rockets, taller than any human-built structure, are not simply machines, they are symbols of hope. They represent the audacity to dream bigger than fear. With every test, every launch, every refinement, Elon moves closer to sending humans to Mars, building colonies that could one day be self-sustaining, and ensuring that humanity's story does not end on one fragile planet. But Mars is only part of his vision. Elon Musk also confronts the challenge of artificial intelligence, a force that is advancing faster than humanity itself. AI promises incredible benefits: faster discoveries, optimized systems, smarter energy grids, and solutions to problems that have plagued humans for centuries. But Elon sees danger in complacency. AI, without careful guidance, could outpace humans, leaving society unprepared, unprotected, and unequal. Neuralink, in this context, is more than a medical or technological endeavor. It is a safeguard, a way to give humans the tools to interface with AI, to ensure that our minds remain relevant, adaptive, and capable of keeping pace with machines that might otherwise surpass us. For Elon, the future of AI is not about replacement, it is about augmentation, about partnership, about survival and evolution. Let me ask you something. Are you prepared to evolve with the world, or will you let the world evolve past you? Elon's answer is relentless effort, constant adaptation, and courageous innovation. And then there is energy, the lifeblood of civilization. Through Tesla, Solar City, and the global energy initiatives he envisions, Elon aims to wean the world off fossil fuels, replace them with sustainable sources, and create energy systems that are efficient, resilient, and capable of powering an entire planet without destroying it. His vision includes not just electric cars, but smart grids, massive battery storage, solar-powered cities, and technologies that allow humanity to flourish without sacrificing the planet that sustains it. Finally, the future for Elon Musk is about inspiration. Each venture, from SpaceX to Neuralink to Tesla, is not just a product, it is a message. It is proof that the impossible is possible. It shows that failure is temporary, that persistence is more valuable than talent alone, and that vision without action is meaningless. His life is a call to every listener, every dreamer, every aspiring creator. The world will doubt you. Obstacles will surround you. Failures will follow you. But your courage to act, your willingness to persist, and your commitment to purpose will determine whether you remain a spectator or become a changemaker. Repeat after me. I am not limited by the present. I am building the future. Elon Musk's story is far from finished. The rockets that will ferry humans to Mars have not yet launched fully. Neuralink's potential has not been fully realized. AI continues to advance, and humanity still faces unprecedented challenges. Yet the most important lesson is already clear: greatness is not defined by wealth, fame, or success. It is defined by vision, resilience, and the courage to act when no one else believes it is possible. And so, as you watch the night sky, as you scroll through your devices, as you confront your own challenges, remember this: the future belongs to those who refuse to accept limits, who dream bigger than fear, and who build relentlessly even when the odds are stacked impossibly high. Elon Musk is not finished. Humanity is not finished. And neither are you. This is English Beast, reminding you that every story you hear, every life you study, every struggle you witness carries a lesson for your own journey. Subscribe, stay inspired, and remember, the impossible is waiting for someone brave enough to make it possible.